Holy crap, that's a lot of people. Welcome everybody back to another live stream here on the channel. Glad to have you guys all in here for another live stream. Welcome to one of our briefings for this upcoming severe weather threat. This is only our second weather briefing for this threat here for Wednesday. It's currently Monday, June 15th, 2026, as I am doing this live stream. So if you are watching back, take note of that date. Let's see what we have here in the chat. We have Critty, Misty, Twin, Mike, Catman, Jordan, Lake, Legacy, Weather Warrior. We also have Livid back in here. Glad to see you when you're Livid. Haven't seen you in here in just a little bit, although I easily could have missed your messages before. We also have Ohio, Jordan, Daniel, Vortex, Girl Dev. If I say your name twice, you get 2 shout outs. Electric Indiana. We also have Haywood in here. Rockets, Fireborn, and Jefferson. Welcome everybody to the stream, and also welcome everybody who I may have forgotten to welcome, or if you are just watching and not chatting. Let's switch on over to our main scene. We also have Charles in here as well. Glad to see you guys all in here for another stream. Hopefully everything loads up fairly well. Looks like it did. Good. So yeah, we've got a lot to go over. There is a lot to go over here for Wednesday severe weather threat. A lot of model data, a lot of stuff to get through, a lot of discussion, and a whole lot to talk about, man. A lot of stuff to talk about. Welcome Catman and Sam. I definitely said Catman, for sure. For sure I said Catman. Haircut? No, I actually just fixed it a little.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
I thought that was a flash flood emergency. So yeah, let's see here. Haven't been here in a while? Okay, glad I haven't missed you that much. Glad I haven't missed you much in chat then, Livid. Glad to have you back in here. Kaden, also welcome to the stream. Xylon as well. Glad to see you guys all in here. Proxy as well. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and dive on into this. Of course, we're going to switch. I'm sorry, weather-wise. We're going to switch to weather front. Here for our outlook, we've got a day 3. Day 3 enhanced risk for severe weather. Welcome Haley as well. I'm not going to be able to welcome everybody, but I tried. There's like 100 people in here within the first 2 minutes of me talking, so that's kind of crazy. But we have an enhanced risk here for severe weather across Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, Iowa, and Ohio. And shoot, this might as well just be June 11th all over again at this point, because the same area. I mean, it's really it is almost the exact same area that we were looking at for the day 3 outlook back on June 11th. I looked back on that, and the biggest difference was there actually wasn't, at that time, there apparently wasn't a 45% SIG 1 from the outlook that I saw. Maybe there wasn't. I somehow managed to miss it, but these two outlooks, they are extremely similar between both of them. And then on the day 2 outlook, I think that is when they added the 45 SIG 1 wind, and then they downgraded it in the afternoon of the day 2 outlook, and then finally upgraded it to a 60 SIG 1 on the day 1 outlook. So it went from 30% to 45% to 30% to 60% for the June 11th outlooks. So that outlook cycle was kind of all over the place, to be honest with you. And it was because Kerr was too conservative, but word got out about it. And this one, they are definitely a little on the conservative side, believe it or not. It wouldn't have shocked me if they went moderate risk, but I definitely agree that they have kept it at, or rather have upgraded it to kind of the middle ground. They didn't keep it as a low end enhanced, and they didn't go moderate. They went mid-tier in the middle of that. They went to a upper echelon enhanced, which is a 45 SIG 1. We almost did get a moderate risk here for day 3. And I do think, why are you guys getting ads? Hold on. That's 2 people complaining about ads at the same time, and both of you guys already clicked on the live stream. I gotta go check it. YouTube, what'd you screw up? You guys should not be getting... You guys should not be getting ads. I don't know why you guys are getting mid ads. Was it like that for the last live stream? Hold on, you know what the first thing I can check on? I ain't gonna lie to you, the first thing I can check on is the money. Because if you got mid-roll ads on, holy crap. Yeah, the last live stream, I definitely had mid-roll ads on. Let's turn those off. Despite the significant uptick in money, let's go ahead and turn those off. There we go. That should save you guys some ads. I don't like running mid ads like that. Only the beginning and the end. I don't know why those were on. I did not turn those on. You know what I bet it is? I bet it's an update. They had an update to the monetization, and they added a pause button and a delay button for ads like you can do on Twitch. They added that, and I guarantee you it automatically turned on my ads because I'm monetized. Matt, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you in here for the $5 donation. Greatly appreciate it. You've probably been getting asked this a million times, but do we get our first high risk of 2026 wind or tornado driven by day 1? With this one, it's a little different. For June 11th, I was thinking wind was actually the better opportunity for a day 1 driven high. But for this, I'm going to go Tor. I do think this has an opportunity to go high risk by day 1. And I'll give it down to one factor: morning convection. If the morning convection, just like what we had on June 11th had morning convection further to the south, and that really destroyed the entire northern and western side of the risk area. If that's the same case with this particular event here on June 17th, they'll probably stay moderate. I'm assuming they'll upgrade it to moderate. I don't see a way how they don't go moderate at the afternoon update, or maybe even the morning update day 2. So I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think it is a 50-50. This is definitely the highest opportunity for a high risk for tornadoes that we've seen this year, for sure. At first, that moderate risk that was a bust over St. Louis area, that was the 3rd highest chance. June 11th was the 2nd highest chance. And now June 17th is, in my opinion, the best opportunity we have for a high risk for tornadoes out of this entire year. So again, if you're just now tuning in, here's your outlook area for Wednesday. We've got a marginal risk level 1, slight risk level 2, and a enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 in place here across the Midwest. Definitely going to continue to monitor this as things evolve. Make sure you stay close to your local National Weather Services and media outlets. And you can tune into this channel. I'll have you covered. We'll probably end up doing another live stream tomorrow to talk about this. And then, of course, we'll be live on Wednesday covering this event here. And again, this isn't your ordinary enhanced risk because we do have a 45% SIG 1. That makes it a high-end enhanced risk. That means we are very, very close to a moderate here. Very close to a moderate risk for severe weather. All they have to do is have a little bit more confidence in the damaging wind threat, and we would have a moderate risk. However, I don't think, obviously they can't pull that now, and I don't think they were planning to pull that for the day 3 outlook. But I do think tomorrow they will pull the moderate risk for tornadoes and maybe wind as well. Matt, thank you for the $2 donation. I would love to at some point. I would be down for a collab for sure. I would definitely be down for one. Yeah, we'll get into the 21Z wrap in just a bit. So there is your probability outlook for Wednesday. And I do want to mention one other thing here. We do have a tiny little marginal down here. And at first it's like, it's just a marginal. There's no big deal to it. Actually, no, this is a tropical marginal risk for severe weather. This is going to be the opportunity for damaging winds and a few brief tornadoes because of a tropical system that is currently strengthening over land. And that's right, we are expecting a little increase in damaging wind potential and overall strength out of a invest that has been designated out here, I believe somewhere near Mexico, southwest Texas. And it is going to strengthen slightly over southeastern Texas. And maybe if it gets into that water, it could strengthen a bit quicker. But it is going to be able to strengthen a bit. And some models even have it strengthening into a tropical storm over land in Mississippi and Alabama. I remember seeing that. I think it was the Euro yesterday. Had it forming into a tropical storm across Mississippi and Alabama completely over land. So there you go. In 2026, the Atlantic hurricane season is so unfavorable that we're starting to get tropical storms trying to form over land now. That's how bad El Nino's gotten. All the tropical systems are trying to form over land instead of the water. That's just absolutely wild. I was looking at that yesterday. I'm like, can that actually even happen? I guess it can. I mean, they increased the area of interest and they designated it an invest today, so I suppose it can. But all right, let's go ahead and dive on into some model data. Actually, before I do that, just for a second, I want to mention Thursday. We do have a slight risk for severe weather on Thursday. I expect this outlook to change exponentially, okay? This thing can expand anywhere. This thing could go all the way up to Maine for the potential of kind of a low Cape high shear event up here in New York and Vermont. This thing could go all the way back down into Oklahoma for the potential of a high Cape environment with little to no forcing, so a very conditional risk in Oklahoma, but it could stretch that far. And it could even go all the way back down into Mississippi and Alabama. I think it would actually stretch more of into Alabama and Georgia for the potential of that tropical storm forming and producing tornadoes and damaging winds inland into Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and eastern Alabama. So this slight risk literally could expand exponentially in pretty much every single direction. So if you're discluded from this slight risk and you're near it, that definitely doesn't mean you're not going to be included in it by day one. And right now, I don't think it's going to go enhanced. I don't see any high-end potential with Thursday. It looks like that the last few days, but it's really downtrended overall for that higher-end damaging potential. Of course, talking about damaging winds. Severe thunderstorm warning for New Mexico. Let's go into some model data here. This is going to be, we're going to start with, you know what? Let's start with a banger here. Start with a big boom over here. Let's go to our, you know what? We might go to the, yeah, we'll do it on here. We'll do it on here. Does it go out that far? 51 frames. Perfect. I'm telling you, man, Weatherfront just has everything you need. I was like, does it go out as far? Yes, it does. So here's the wrap model for Wednesday. And I actually want to switch you over to precipitation real quick. This is your precipitation type. And note all the convection in the open warm sector. Look at all of that over convection in Iowa, Illinois, even into Indiana, southern Wisconsin, and even into western Michigan. You are absolutely over convected to death. But that is definitely, I want to say, almost a rap biased. I want to say a rap biased. Because this happens every single event. Every single event I look at the wrap model, it's always over convecting. I don't know if that's because it's lower resolution or something, but it seems like it's always over convecting something. That just seems like what it is every time I look at it.
A new flash flood warning has been
I'm
issued.
gonna have to turn them alerts off. I'll keep them on for now, but if they keep flying in, I mean, we're up to 9 flood alerts. We do have the potential for catastrophic flooding over the next 4 to 5 days, so I'll probably take a quick peek at that in a bit too. But just I wanted you to know.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
I'll refresh that. There we go. Perfect. I want you to note all of this morning convection here that happens in the morning and the afternoon. This is even until 3, 4 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern. And you know what? I'm going to do something real quick for you. I'm trying to see if I have anything copyrighted on. I'm going to do this. Bear with me. Bye. I left. I left the chat. I'm gone. That's what Weatherfront looks like if you've never seen it, by the way. In full. I'm going to do this real quick. There's my pen right there on the far right side of the screen. We're going to shrink this. We're modifying it here. There you go. Look at that. Beautiful. Gorgeous. And we're going to stick that time. Where do we stick it? Where do we want to put it here? Uh-oh. It left. I'm blank. I can't see anything. Streamlabs bugged on me. Come back. Oh, thank goodness. There it is. I clicked the wrong button. We're going to flop that up here. That's the problem with real-time editing is you can real-time screw it up. So we'll put that down here. And now you will be able to see the time. We're going to shrink that just a tad because I don't want it to be too huge there. Perfect. So now you got the time at the far top left corner of the screen. That way I don't have to say it every single time. And that's going to be for our model run here. So there you go. And we'll do that. So that's for 4 or 5 p.m., a bunch of overconvection in the open warm sector. And the reason why that's so important on this model run is because I wanted to show you, even with all of that overconvection, look how far north our open warm sector gets. I mean, this thing gets all the way into southern Wisconsin, southern Michigan, and western Ohio by about 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. That is insane that you get that much overconvection and the warm sector just lifts north into all of it all. That's just crazy. And you can see by the time you're at 4 or 5 p.m., we've got a very volatile environment over a very familiar area. Doesn't this look similar? Don't these town names look very, very similar to, I don't know, maybe a specific event that happened 4 days ago? It looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? And you can see that's your supercell composite. This is your supercell or your significant tornado parameter. So we have supercell composite, and we also have significant tornado parameter. And both of these are fairly high end for this time of year, especially for this time of year. And here in central Illinois. And you got a lot of CAPE. You got a lot of these parameters. You got a lot of wind shear. And most importantly, if we go to here, you got a lot of moisture. You got a lot of moisture, low to mid 70s into central Illinois here. And that's very, very important this time of year, especially if your temperatures climb too high, because often in spring, in summer, we're going to be pushing 100 temperatures in some events. In this instance, you're really not. You can see the hottest temperature here is St. Louis at 88. And if you take that dew point of about 70 there, that would definitely be a more elevated environment. You would be obviously more elevated there. But really, that's not horrible. That really isn't that horrible. So very crucial moisture there. And then also another thing we could take a look at here is that 500 millibar that 500 millibar trough ejection. And does this look similar? I mean, guys, it's literally just a repeat of June 11th on steroids here. It really is. You've got almost the same type of bowling ball trough, almost the same type of shortwave, and the same, almost the exact same pattern with it rapidly ejecting off to the east southeast and then getting negative with time. It's literally like the exact same setup 4 days apart. I cannot believe it because it's so similar. I mean, we were talking about for almost a week the type of bowling ball trough that June 11th would have, and that is what would make June 11th probably such a big day for severe weather. And then here we are 4 days later after that major tornado outbreak, dealing with almost debatably an identical setup when you look at the 500 millibar flow here. But one thing that it might be a little bit different this time around is the lower level jet. Now, the lower level jet on June 11th was fairly notable and fairly significant. But here on June 17th, we're still going to have that same significant lower level jet, and maybe even a little bit higher of a lower level jet than what we had on June 11th. We could be pushing 75 knots in some locations here by the time we get to the late evening hours. You can see at 8 p.m. we're pushing 74, 75 knots out here in Indiana. And then I also want to take a look at something I haven't looked at just yet, which is the 700 millibar winds here. And oh boy, that is a recipe for disaster. So when you get your trough like this, let's change to a different color. Let's go to like, what are we thinking? I guess white, because that should stand out the most here. So we're going to separate that trough into four quadrants. Here. And we're going to separate that right in the middle, right about there. So you've got four quadrants. You've got the top left corridor, which is arguably the most unfavorable corridor for severe weather. You have the top right quadrant, which is arguably the most favorable for severe weather. The bottom right quadrant, which is also decently favorable for severe weather. And then the bottom left quadrant there, which is also decently favorable for severe weather. Typically, you're going to be looking at really the front right quadrant is really going to be the most favorable, and that would put it probably right up in here is where you have your most favorable 500 millibar heights here. Now, also, this could be misaligned. This is definitely not a perfect separation of your four quadrants. But with time, you can see how that is going to push further to the south as well. So your right quadrant exit region won't be just that far up to the north. It could also be further to the south. And the point here that I'm trying to make is if you match these up, the 500 millibar, the 700 millibar, and the 850 millibar, they all correlate with each other. They are all in extremely close proximity to each other. That 500 millibar provides the defluence aloft out here in the atmosphere. That creates a void that the atmosphere wants to fill. And as that void is being filled, that's where your 850 millibar winds overlap with your 750 millibar wind speeds here. And also notice how widespread these are. These 700 millibar wind speeds that are peaking here at almost 75 knots, they're not in just a small... Get it? 75 knots. They're not just in a small area. I'm so funny. They're not just in a small little area. They are in a very, very large vicinity here across much of Illinois, much of Indiana, and even into southern Michigan and southern Wisconsin. So that's going to allow for a very large area of wind shear. It's not going to be the type of event where we have this small pocket of wind shear, and if storms don't fire in that, nothing's going to be tornadic. No. If we take a look at your 0 to 3 kilometer SRH, golly, man, I mean, there is shear from Canada, Minnesota border all the way down to the Texas-Mexico border with this system. You've got shear for everybody. Just a lot of wind shear. And then look at Illinois and Indiana. Okay, so if you're new to weather, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, that's storm relative helicity. It is one of the most crucial ingredients for tornadoes, because if you don't have shear, you don't have spin, you don't have tornadoes. Another way we could get tornadoes is with boundaries, like outflow boundaries. But in this case, for strong tornadoes to form, typically you want to see 0 to 1 kilometer SRH around or greater than 150, and 0 to 3 kilometer SRH around or greater than 200. We're at 960 out here. What this is as high as it gets. Like this color table, that's maxed. You can't get higher than that across southern Michigan. That is just to show you how insanely favorable that 500 millibar trough is. And you can note here, again, a lot of that would be in probably the front right quadrant, right? That's where we were looking at, like right in here was where that front right quadrant was. And that's where the bulk of that wind shear is going to be. If we take a look at the lower level, so remember I said this needs to be about 150. Now, of course, boundary actions, we have seen violent tornadoes before with 100 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, but it's a general rule of thumb for 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity to be at or above 150. And yeah, you could see we are above 150 across the entire main open warm sector here across Illinois and Indiana. And of course, you're going to need to match this with CAPE as well. So it's going to be where all these things come together. Where the CAPE is the highest here, where the lower level jet is the highest, where your lower level wind shear and your mid-level wind shear is the highest, where your forcing is the highest. And then that is what parameters like supercell composite is for. Those things do that for you automatically. They take into account the wind shear, the instability, the cap in the atmosphere, which can prevent storms from firing, and they put it into an easy to understand parameter like supercell composite. So if we just go ahead and take a look here, this is at pretty much 20. We're just going to pop a sounding dead center of your open warm sector. This is barely cherry picked here. And right off the bat, you can already see the very, very favorable sounding. An insanely favorable sounding here. Over 3,000 CAPE, it's just off your screen. Over 3,000 CAPE. If you can't see the lapse rates, but I'll just tell you the 0 to 3 kilometer is 6.3. That is something that could limit Wednesday's severe threat. There's three main things I want to look for a limiting severe threat on Wednesday. Lower level lapse rates, mid-level dry air or lower level dry air, and then also morning convection. Those are the big three I'm going to look for. Lower level lapse rates being too low, lower level dry air being in place for too long, and then morning convection hanging around for too long. So, yeah, but even in that case, you still get a likely crazy outbreak here on the RAP model. Let's go to the RRFSA 18Z and take a look at that. And we're gonna look at the same thing. We're not gonna go look at the reflectivity just yet. Let's go ahead and pull this on out. This is the 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity on this particular model run. And you can see you are a little bit more limited with wind shear on this particular model. Not nearly as good lower level wind shear back out here across Illinois, Missouri until after dark. So that could definitely limit the tornado threat prior to 6 p.m. Eastern time if that does come to fruition. But this is just one singular model run here. And if we take a look at CAPE, you could see that's trended up to the north quite exponentially if you take a look at the difference between the 12Z and the 18Z. Big time northward shift on that. And here's the reflectivity. And this is a little interesting to me because it doesn't have supercells maintaining. It really doesn't. Despite the volatile environment, supercells don't maintain. And I wonder if that could be something to do with your 500 millibar trough here. It seems like that's too far to the north. If we compare that back to, let's go to the RAP. Let's kind of just draw where that max jet stream is. This is where your main defluence is aloft, right there. Right, that's where your main trough is on this particular RRFSA. And let's go to the RAP and see if that's further to the south. This is a different model run for a different time. Let's go. There you go. And you can see the wrap is going to get further south. The wrap is going to be more down here. And so what that allows for is that allows for more digging. You see that little indent? That allows for more digging with the trough, which can help with forcing and help get storms to actually fire and maintain. So you've got two pretty different runs there. Let's go to the HRRR 18Z and see what that has. You can see the HRRR is already digging that trough. HRRR already digging that trough, and the RFSA kind of keeps it smooth. You see these geo height contours here? See how it keeps it smooth like this? You don't get a lot of that digging. It's just really a belt of strong flow. You don't get a lot of digging in that trough, and that's actually, I believe, going to be an outlier. Because you can see here's another one. This is the NSSL RN, and that shows digging in your trough. And I wonder what this has. So this has that morning convection, and then it has kind of a cluster of severe storms with some isolated supercells that maintain inside the line. So I think there's a lot of stuff we got to work out with that morning convection, and that's creating a lot of uncertainty. But I do think the RFSA is a little bit of an outlier with that trough not digging as much, and that could be why it doesn't have supercells maintaining as long as maybe some other models that we have here. So definitely a lot of model differences. We also got the NAM3K here. Here's your NAM3K model run. Let's see what this has. This is going to just barely go out. This is the 18Z. Is this for the right day? This looks like the wrong day. It looks so strange. And that also has some struggling supercell. So that definitely raises an eyebrow here, because you can't ignore that. Especially when it's on two different model runs. Something is either struggling in that environment or with the trough. And you can see you do have some better digging on the NAM3K. I wonder if it's just because your main trough is too displaced. You see your main trough is back here on this model run. But storms fire back out in this vicinity. So, yeah, it's definitely not Cape. I could tell you that. There you go for Cape. And yeah, your main storms fire off of this at like 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, your storms fire off of that. And that's not a particularly where you would want them to fire. It's not a bad region, but it's not like right back here where you would actually think they'd fire, further back out in like this area. So a little bit strange there on the NAM3K. Definitely a little something that we'll want to pay attention to. And it looks like it might just come down to the timing of the trough. It looks like the timing of the trough is different on all of these, because this is going to be the FV3 5K here. And that is going to show probably a full-fledged tornado outbreak, if I'd have to imagine here. That would likely be a full-on tornado outbreak across Iowa, Illinois, into Indiana, northeastern Missouri there. So some of these look to fire storms a little bit too far in front. We'll go back to that Cape here. I mean, the 12Z didn't really have that problem. Yeah, the RFSA really isn't having that problem. I mean, it is a little bit, but you could see it fires in very close proximity to where that maximum Cape is. It's not like that other run. And I'm sure that these storms would still be capable of producing tornadoes, even if they didn't sustain for very long. But this doesn't feel right with the type of environment we're dealing with. I don't see a way how storms are just gonna disappear into thin air like that. I don't think that's actually what's going to occur. But again, you can't fully ignore it. Cannot fully ignore it, that's for sure. And there's not really any other convecutive allowing models here. that we have that's going to go out that far. The HT might... Nah, that's not going to go out that far. That only goes out 48. Need something else that goes out 60. Here's the NAM model. And that, again, also has a particularly high-end environment. Nothing, I don't think is crazy as the wrap. Maybe at 2 p.m. that would be just as crazy as the wrap, but for when those storms actually get going, not as insane. So, definitely going to need to wait and see what the HRRR has for tonight and tomorrow. For how Wednesday could perform. And that's going to be a big factor in how the SPC goes about their day 2 morning outlook and their day 2 afternoon outlook here for Wednesday. But again, a little skeptical there on some of the model guidance with how they all have. Most of them have a higher end echelon environment, but those storms kind of just fade out. And again, that could be for many reasons. That could be from the morning convection, leaving behind a little bit of a stable atmosphere, not enough cloud cover. That could be from lower level lapse rates not being high enough. That could be from that dry air slot, which I don't know if I have a model run here that's going to be able to show that dry slot as well as I would like to. We're going to just take a sounding on the simulated reflectivity here in front of these supercells at 7 o'clock Eastern time. And this doesn't do as well of a job with the mid-level dry air potential. That would be between the 850 and the 700 millibar, right around that vicinity there is where that dry air would be. And this shows a very actually moist mid and lower level. But actually the surface is a little bit drier on this particular run. Only 64 degrees Fahrenheit here for your dew points. So that is a little strange. Let's go to the RN, and it looks like that has kind of the same ordeal with in Central Illinois. So definitely some model differences in specifics, but I do think that this day is going to be a very high-end outbreak day for both damaging winds and tornadoes, and probably large hail as well. I do think large hail could end up being a bigger concern with this particular event compared to June 11th. But again, definitely some differences in your model runs that you're going to need to work out here before you could really start talking about the potential for a high risk for severe weather. I do think we will see a moderate risk for severe weather. I really don't see a way how we don't. Even if it does look like those supercells don't maintain, all it takes is one supercell to maintain. We saw that on June 11th. All it took was one supercell. We ended up with like 3 or 4 supercells that maintained well in front of the cold front, and those produce multiple strong plus tornadoes. And that's going to be the same case with this particular day. You should have a upper echelon environment enough to the point where if you do get storms to fire in that very volatile and favorable environment, they would be able to produce, and especially in this particular scenario, long track, strong to intense tornadoes, and maybe even a violent tornado wouldn't be ruled out in a particular instance like the RAP 12Z model one. This is definitely the higher end. The RAP model is definitely the model where it shows a high risk for severe weather. This would be what it would take in order to get a high risk for severe weather on a Wednesday. This would be the particular setup you need. Maybe with a little bit less morning convection, though.
A new flash flood warning has been issued.
Yeah, that would be the particular setup you need. You need all that moisture in the low to mid 70s statewide across Illinois. You need that really, really good 500 millibar flow digging, shortwave trough, starting to turn negatively tilted there. And the matching up 500 millibars, 700 millibar, and 850 millibar winds. And there's your 300 millibar wind speeds as well, which those don't match up perfectly with the largest area of defluence. But what that could mean is this setup, in my opinion, is less of a widespread significant wind threat and more of a clustered mode to discrete mode. I don't really think we're going to end up with a very large line of severe weather like what we did on June 11th, where we had that huge MCS sweep from Springfield all the way through into southeastern Ohio and southern Indiana. I don't think that will be the case. I think we will have a line of clustered to semi-discrete supercells that fire across Illinois, Missouri, and eastern Iowa. That could be further to the west or maybe slightly further to the southeast. And we'll have to see what goes from there. Maybe they grow upscale into a line, or maybe they fizzle out. We would have to see. And I really think we're just going to have to wait for the HRRR here, which we get the 00Z here in about, the 00Z will be done rendering in about 2 hours. It starts here in a little over an hour is when that 00Z HRRR run comes in. So, let's go to our vorticity here. Like I said, that rat model, man, that rat model 21Z run, just S tier look there for Wednesday. I kind of want to compare this the best to our ability with the 18Z HRRR so we could kind of get a hint. And man, yeah, I mean, look at the defluence aloft here and the sharp trough access, sharply negatively tilted trough there. And of course, you're going to have a mass lower level response with time. 700 millibar wind speeds, very favorable as well. And you're just going to get an overlap of very significant severe weather there. And you know what? I didn't even bother to look at the morning convection that this had. Okay. Not that bad. So you could kind of see where you're starting to clear out. That's the bulk of your main convection right there. And then this would be probably a focal point for some supercell development if we take a look at your supercell composite. Yeah, those southern storms might be able to fire right on that warm front too. Right on that warm front. I'm also curious about one more thing here. I want to draw out where that cold front is and go to your dew points. Okay. I saw some people mention like a dry line out in front or something. That could be a focal point. I don't particularly see a dry line here. This is definitely a cold core, or not a cold core, a cold front setup from what I could tell. But yeah, you can see you got this secondary maximum of wind speeds here over your risk area. And we had the exact same thing on June 11th, and that's what created that morning MCS. It tracked over a very similar area, except on June 11th, it was a lot stronger sooner. It wasn't this week. This is Wednesday morning, and you could see it's fairly weak. So that's going to be something to watch closely, very, very closely. And you can see all your main models, the HRRR, which you just saw a second ago, the RFSA, the RN, and does the RAP have that? I'm sure it does. The RAP has maybe a little weaker, but still present there, like a secondary maximum for your 500 millibar wind speeds. And basically, long story short, what that could do is that could actually create elevated supercell convection that could actually inhibit that warm sector from shifting further to the northeast. It can help create more morning convection and also elevated convection that could help linger outflow boundaries into the afternoon. So that could be kind of a good and a bad thing. The reason why that could be good is because that could shift your overall threat further to the south and your ceiling for your day may be a little bit lower. However, just like June 11th had that morning MCS and it left some boundary actions and also helped that warm front be a lot sharper. And because of that, we ended up with a very sharp access of where supercells fired in central Illinois and produced intense to violent tornadoes. And again, that could be the exact case here as well. You could see not particularly I think the RFSA 12Z run was a very good example of what I'm trying to describe here. You can see a lot of that elevated convection in the open worm sector here. A very substantial, very substantial amount of elevated convection at 2-3 p.m. Eastern time here. And then that will be a focal point for supercell development immediately behind and south. Immediately behind and south of those storms. And you can see even the elevated storms actually might turn into supercells as that warm front shifts further to the north. So that would definitely be a very significant severe weather threat. And arguably that may increase the tornado risk. In this very rare particular case, those elevated supercells may actually increase the tor risk, because what happens is they start in the elevated convected area, but then they move into the surface-based convected area. And now you've got two supercells in a volatile environment that are full-on prefrontal supercells ahead of the line. Those two would most definitely pose a violent tornado threat. So in this very rare particular case, that would actually increase your tornado threat with the elevated convection. But of course, as we know, the next run, that was completely gone there. Fully gone with that elevated convection. You could see some of it still up here into northern Illinois and northern Indiana. But you could see the violent tornado threat in front is fully gone. It's completely gone. So that was just a one and done ordeal. And that's just a different scenario. There's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of scenarios. There is a lot of different scenarios here for Wednesday. When you have this much shear, you need nudgers. Otherwise, storms will struggle to drop tornadoes. Yeah, kind of like what they did on the 11th. However, there's not a bunch of, oh my word, there's a bunch of wind shear on the RRFSA, but like if we go to the NAM 3K, I don't think it had as much shear. Okay, I lied. It had more. What was the model one that didn't have a lot of shear? I swear there was one of them. Which one was it? Was it this one? Nope. Oh, well, okay. It was a little bit more of this one. But man, they all have wind shear. They all have a crazy amount of wind shear. I was for sure there was one model that had lower wind shear. I think it might have been this model run midday. Remember I said storms might struggle to produce tornadoes till after 6 o'clock when that wind shear increases. I think that was this model run. Let's see. So what, you're Catman, you're thinking maybe they should drop it down to like a 2% tor or something? Because if we don't have any cell mergers, we won't get any tornadoes. Heard it here first. Catman thinks it should be dropped to a marginal. There's just a vastly amount of different scenarios here. Again, for Wednesday, I do think we should see a moderate risk for severe weather, but that's my personal opinion, and I do think that if they pull that moderate, it would probably be almost directly where that 45 sig 1 is going to be placed. Is already placed there. I don't know, Catman. I don't really believe that as much with this setup, to be honest with you. Not when you've got such a solid cold front and strong thermodynamic profile. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Maybe for if you get like any prefrontal supercells, they may need those. But I don't know. Maybe that could also be like another reason why the RFSA is shredding supercells apart, because of too much wind shear. Too much wind shear. Is Indianapolis in the bad area? Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Unfortunately, Indianapolis is under the highest risk right now, depending on what side of the city. The city's almost separated dead center, but if you're in downtown Indianapolis to the northwest, you're dead center, that main risk. And if you're on the southeast side of Indianapolis, you're on that 30%. Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. Too much wind shear. But some models, again, show that highest wind shear displaced to the north because your defluence is highest off to the north. So some of them show that highest wind shear like up here. Let's see if that's what this model shows. Yeah, see your 0 to 1 kilometer wind shear. Your highest is actually a bit removed from your primary risk area. No, Catman definitely does have a valid point. That could be why some of these models are struggling to develop sustaining supercell convection along the front. But yeah, and another reason why I think about that is because that's exactly why June 11th struggled. That's exactly why June 11th struggled until we started seeing cell mergers. Because if you think back to that day, think how many prefrontal supercells fired. We had a lot of supercells fire in front of that front, and a lot of them were merging with one another. And that's why they dropped tornadoes. I mean, Catman, what kind of cutoff would you want for that? Like, what in the 0 to 1 and 0 to 3? Like, is in the 0 to 3, is 400, 300, 400, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH too much? And in 0 to 1, is 300, 400 too much? Like, what's the cutoff there, you know? Because obviously anybody can say 1,000 wind shears too much. But, like, where does that cutoff really start to not matter as much? Like, if you have over 400 wind shear, is that where it starts to matter, or less than that? Because I generally, I haven't seen the problem with over 300 or under 300. I haven't seen that be an issue. Once it gets to over 400 for either, I think storms will struggle. And that's like right where the RRFSA is. It's like 300, 350. For the 0 to 3. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But still, I do think that they're going to go moderate for Tor. I do believe they will. Excuse me. Sneeze. Allergies have been getting to me yesterday and today. Check on Thursday. Thursday's not in great range yet. Only really on the RFSA. And Thursday's just Thursday, man. It's just your per usual wind bag. There's definitely the risk for some supercells with our tropical system here in Georgia and South Carolina. That might actually be where your highest risk for tornadoes will be on Thursday. And then maybe some tornado risk with these here. And then StormNet's been pointing towards a bit of a tor risk further in the northeast, further into New York State, Massachusetts. Yeah, StormNet has the highest tor risk on Thursday, being in New Hampshire and Vermont. And then also with these storms down in here. So, oh, excuse me, man. Allergies decide to hit only when I live stream. Thank you for the bless yous, by the way. It wasn't that bad 2 days ago, but yesterday it just started acting up. I hope I'm not getting sick again. That'd be annoying. I just got over a sickness like a week ago. So yeah, that's the primary stuff here. Let's see. We also got CSU here, which there's CSU's risk for day 3. It actually downgraded from a moderate to a enhanced, which is interesting. You can also see it has 5% there in Louisiana for that tropical system. So, once more, we'll have to wait for higher definition model runs like the HRRR to get more in range. We have the NAM3K, but that's not very good. The RRFSA has done a okay job, but is always a supercell printer or underdoing convection. And of course, the HRRR has an overmixing issue, so have to take that into account. CSU is not doing us justice. Yeah, CSU wasn't right about June 11th either, so. Any thoughts on potential for severe weather next week? We'll leave that for a later date. Take it one day at a time, or you'll get too overwhelmed. That's for sure. But yeah, again, I mean, Wednesday looks like a big day for severe weather. It looks like multiple tornadoes, strong to intense. Maybe one long tract, or maybe one violent will be possible. Large hail up to 3 inches in diameter, and then damaging winds up to like 80, 90 miles per hour will also be possible. Too much shear hurts the inflow outflow balance for tornadoes, storms. No, I don't think so, Catman. I believe they fired on the cold front. If I'm not mistaken, they fired on the cold front and they were a little bit clustered and then eventually turned into more semi-discrete storms. I might have a loop of that somewhere in here. Let's go back to March 2025. No particular loop in this instance. I save some loops, but some others I don't. So, again, if you're just now tuning in, there's your main risk area for Wednesday. Once more, we'll probably end up with a moderate risk for severe weather somewhere around central Illinois and eastern Missouri. Somewhere in here is probably going to get upgraded. I'm not saying the moderate will be that big, but just generally in that area is where I expect the moderate risk to be issued. Probably in the afternoon of tomorrow. Once we get a little better idea, tomorrow afternoon we'll have a much better idea with 12Z guidance. We'll still have the good old-fashioned uncertainty with the morning convection, but it should still be better data. What's the chance of it being increased to a high risk? Like I said, 50-50, really. It really is 50-50. In the world was that? You know, I'm not gonna do it. You know, I'll be right back. Man, I still see sheer an issue specifically in not allowing storms to be as tornadic. They will definitely need storm interactions. I mean, this kind of goes back to what Critty was mentioning. Kind of going back to what Critty was mentioning. Wait till day one. Wait till day one. We get more observations. We get more data. Models they're generally agreeing on wind shear and how high it is, but none of them are particularly insane in the main risk area. I mean, if we just draw the main risk area, right in there is roughly. Actually, you know, let's go to the SPC. Let's go to the SPC right in there and go to wind shear. We'll start with the RFSA 18Z. And you can see this one. Your main storms are firing in front of that, it looks like. Because I can see convection from that environment actively being taken up. So it looks like that kind of fires in front. And I mean, that's not too crazy. Borderline, you don't have enough lower level wind shear. Really? On that particular run. And again, yeah, those are where your storms are. So that run actually doesn't have a lot of wind shear in the lower levels. I think the mid levels is where that problem might be. Those mid levels cranking at 400, 500, that could be where your problem is. So it just depends on what you look at, but the mid-level being so high definitely could be a reason why the RFSA is struggling with supercell convection. Definitely could be. Unfortunately, at this range, this is the exact range where there is probably the most uncertainty, really. Because you have the NAM3K, you have the RFSA, and you have the global models. But the global models are starting to get a little close to where you're kind of backing off from them. But you don't have just yet, like your HRRR hasn't gotten in all the way, and your HERF ensemble viewer hasn't gotten in all the way. So, in my opinion, this is a little bit of where probably the most forecast uncertainty could lie. Especially when these events involve morning convection. And you just pile this all together. When you have all this uncertainty on how much wind shear there's going to be, and if the shear is going to be too much, when you have too much over convection, morning convection, too much defluence, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that play into that uncertainty. It could go either way. Yep. But generally, you don't want to get too caught up in the full discussion because really, regardless of what happens, it only takes one storm, and there's a lot of other ingredients that are coming together to increase the potential for severe weather. You guys be fussing about the debate more than actually debating, by the way. And I wouldn't even consider it a debate just talking about wind shear. If we do get morning convection, we will. It is going to be borderline impossible to not get morning convection with this 500 millibar setup. It really is. It's going to be borderline impossible. Because you've got 2 jet maximums in here. You are going to have morning convection. And that, I think that's what's going to hold off a high risk, really. Is that morning and afternoon convection. Even if it is further to the north than expected, it still is going to play a role in that lower level lapse rates, more cloud cover, and boundaries and elevated storms, all that stuff. It's still going to play a role in all of that. But you could see here is the NAM, and you could see kind of where your cape and your shear, you could see where those overlap right in there. That's where they overlap the most. And your heaviest and highest amount of shear, I should say, is off to the north, which is pretty common. That's not particularly bad. In this case, when you have too much shear, that might be good. And you can see the amounts of, I think it's the 0 to 3 kilometer that I'd really be worried about for too much shear. But yeah, outside of this week, there is another signal for severe weather on June 21st on Sunday. But that's not that is not a, at the moment, particularly high signal. It's just a little signal that we might want to watch for some severe weather around that time frame. As I said earlier, the HREF is not in view. HREF is only day of and day before. Southeast Indianapolis have a chance for a tornado on the ground on Wednesday. Yeah. You have a chance for a tornado. We don't quite yet just know how high of a chance. But there's definitely going to be a chance for a couple tornadoes across western and central Indiana Wednesday night. For sure. But yeah, if you do want to tune into that coverage live stream when we start up on Wednesday, make sure you hit that like button, share the stream with family, friends, social media, and especially subscribe to the channel with a notification bell set to all, so you know when I go live. I would stay live for the 00Z HRRR, but it's just, that might be a little bit too long for me. That's another full hour and like 20 minutes. So, and I've really ran out of stuff to talk about. I mean, we went over the bulk of this stuff here. We can go back, we can go to College to Do page real quick, just to see. There's your 500 millibar flow, and that doesn't show as well defined of a secondary trough maximum. That's probably because it's lower resolution. But there's definitely some differences in the specifics of this trough. Definitely some specifics that are different there. But all right, I think I'm going to head off, y'all. I would stay live for that 00Z run, but it's just a little bit too long for me. So thank you, Grumpy Grandpa, for the $10 donation. My allergies are also really starting to get a hold of me here, so it's getting borderline painful over here to talk with these allergies. So I will be back tomorrow, most likely. I will be back tomorrow. Probably, I'm guessing. Oh, look at that. We're somehow starting, ending, and beginning at the same time. Where's the thing? There it is. I'll be back tomorrow, probably sometime right around. Uh, oh, wait, hold on. Tomorrow does pose. There is some risk for a few tornadoes tomorrow in western Michigan. That will be about 5 o'clock. So we'll be live 3. We'll aim for 3. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Yeah, we'll aim for about a 3-4 p.m. live stream. I'll be live about 3-4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I look forward to talking to you guys then. And until then, I hope you guys stay safe. Have a great rest of your night. And again, before you leave, if you can, hit that like and subscribe button. Share the stream with family, friends, social media. Share the channel. It's greatly, greatly appreciated. And also, thank you, mods, for modding chat. Everyone for being here. Thank you, Matt, for the $7 and Grumpy Grandpa for the $10. Going the extra mile to support the channel more than you already do. And I will catch you guys in tomorrow's live stream. We'll plan for about 3-4 p.m. Eastern time. Trying to get all this stuff set up in the background here. I like to loop things at the end of my stream. There's a lot to set up to get that to loop properly. But all right, 30 more seconds of me yapping, and then we can play the outro music. So once more, we'll be live again tomorrow between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you can't tune into that, we will be live again for coverage on Wednesday and maybe coverage on Thursday, depending if I chase or not. Once more, thank you so much for tuning in. Stay safe. Watch the severe weather. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you, Moss, for on chat, and everyone for being here. Goodbye. Stay safe, watch the severe weather. Thank you, mods, for mod and chat, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's live stream, probably between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern. Have a great rest of your night. Stay safe, watch the severe weather. Goodbye.